Alright, let's cut straight to it. You want to know if time travel is possible. I mean, who doesn't? The idea of jumping into a time machine, fixing a past mistake, or sneaking a peek at humanity's distant future is irresistible. But here's the brutal truth. Time travel is, well, let's just say, physics is not on your side. Surprised? You've probably heard countless sci-fi scenarios claiming otherwise. But what does science, real, rigorous science, actually say about the possibility of zipping through time? Buckle up, because this is about to get fascinatingly complicated. First, let's start by defining what we mean by time travel. Essentially, we're talking about moving through time in a manner that's different from how we experience it every day. Normally, we march forward at 1 second per second, a steady, predictable pace. But the idea of time travel is to bend or break this rule. Either leap into the future like a stone skipping across a pond, or rewind to live yesterday all over again. Sounds simple, right? Well, not quite. Let's kick off with the basics of relativity, shall we? Einstein taught us through his theory of general relativity that space and time are not separate entities. They form something we call space-time, a four-dimensional fabric that can be warped by mass and energy. Think about space-time like a stretchy rubber sheet. Place a heavy ball on it, a planet, a star, and the sheet dips. That dip represents gravitational influence. But here's where it gets fun, or frustrating. This warping of space-time is what causes time dilation. Time can slow down. The closer you are to an object with a massive gravitational pull, the slower your clock ticks compared to someone far away. This happens. This is proven. GPS satellites, for example, have to account for this effect as they orbit Earth. But does this mean you can exploit space-time warping to jump dramatically into the future, or somehow loop back into the past? Technically, no. At least not in any straightforward way. To travel forward in time faster than everyone else, you'd need to approach speeds near that of light. Imagine hopping onto a spaceship that accelerates to 99.999% the speed of light. Time for you on board would slow down. It could feel like a few years pass while centuries tick by for everyone else back on Earth. This is called time dilation. So yeah, technically, you can leap into the future, but you won't bring anyone or anything back with you. You're just aging slower. And even getting to that speed is a monumental engineering hurdle, requiring energy levels we can barely comprehend. Okay, but what about going backward? Here is where things get really tricky. Time loops, wormholes, and other theoretical constructs pop up in physics equations. Let's discuss wormholes for a second. These are theoretical shortcuts through space-time, tunnels that might connect 2 points in the universe in ways that sidestep regular space and time. If you could somehow enter one end of a wormhole and exit the other, you might arrive at a different time than when you entered. Sounds neat, right? But here's the catch. Every mathematical model that predicts a stable wormhole requires conditions we've never observed. Exotic matter with negative energy density, anyone? Again, these are theoretical ideas, not confirmed possibilities. Now, even if we somehow solve the exotic matter problem and stabilize a wormhole, the paradoxes show up to say hello. Let's talk about the big one, the grandfather paradox. Picture this. You build a time machine, go back to the past, and accidentally, or intentionally, prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother. What happens next? If they never met, you were never born. But if you were never born, how did you go back in time to prevent their meeting? It's a logical nightmare. One potential out for this paradox is the idea of self-consistency. It suggests that events unfolding through time travel must always resolve in ways that preserve consistency. In other words, no matter what you do in the past, the timeline somehow bends to ensure you were always there to do it. It's like time is rigged to prevent contradictory scenarios. But honestly, that explanation feels a bit like duct tape holding the universe together. The other theoretical loophole some physicists entertain comes from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. This idea posits that every time an event with multiple possible outcomes occurs, the universe splits into a number of parallel realities, one for each outcome. So, If you go back and prevent your grandparents from meeting, you wouldn't erase your existence. Instead, you'd create a new timeline, while your original one ticks onward unaffected. Entertaining? Sure. Practical? Not even close. This entire divergence scenario rests on interpretations we can't test, meaning it's not science, but speculative philosophy dressed in physics equations. Then there's the issue of causality, the principle that cause precedes effect. If you can go back in time and alter events, you mess with causality. And modern physics is built on causality. It's the backbone of how we construct cause and effect relationships. Violating it creates contradictions, making much of our scientific understanding fall apart. When physicists do entertain the possibility of time travel, they do so under extremely constrained scenarios to avoid breaking causality into 1,000 puzzle pieces. Now, I want to pause for a moment and address something. You might be thinking, but Oli, didn't Stephen Hawking himself discuss time travel without completely dismissing it? Yes, he did. Hawking even proposed a concept called the chronology protection conjecture, which suggests that the laws of physics themselves might conspire to prevent time travel scenarios. In other words, even if you built a time machine, reality might sabotage its operation. According to Hawking, the universe has a built-in veto against causality violations, ensuring things like time loops can't exist. So where does that leave us? Certainly fascinated, but also humbled. Time travel is one of those ideas that makes physics both irresistible and infuriating. It tempts us with grand possibilities while smacking us with immutable rules. And even if one day we uncover some profound new layer of reality allowing time travel, the paradoxes, the constraints, and the sheer scale of the engineering challenges feel insurmountable from where we stand today. That said, science thrives on probing the seemingly impossible. Maybe someday, centuries from now, someone will crack a theory that upends everything we just discussed. But as of today, on April 22nd, 2025, time machines are nothing more than the playful fantasies of fiction. And maybe, just maybe, that's for the best. Who knows what chaos we might unleash by tampering with time? Before you go, let me ask you this. If you could time travel, would you dare? And what moment in history, or the future, would you visit? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you'd use a time machine we don't even have. If you enjoyed this episode of Hyperfocus and want more deep dives into the quirks and questions of our universe, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you won't miss future content. We're a small but growing channel, and your support fuels our drive to bring uncompromising, thought-provoking science to your screen. Thanks for sticking around. Stay hyper-focused, and remember, the clock only moves forward unless it plays by physics rules.